Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leader in rushing, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. It is December the 23rd. Hopefully everybody's got their Christmas shopping done. If you're like me, that is not true. We got a couple of days left here before the big day. Obviously, got a lot of festivities going on around my world here. We got to travel out of state here in a few hours. So I want to get you guys an early episode, get some content out there. And this is something that keeps getting brought up on the show, and it keeps getting brought up on Twitter. Now there's articles being written about it. Something that we mentioned, it was going into this season, we mentioned the similarities between the 2010 Green Bay Packers and the 2025 Green Bay Packers. We even went back and talked about the 1996 Green Bay Packers as well, right? And some of the similarities there. We're going to key in on what are these similarities we keep mentioning about the 2010 Super Bowl champion Green Bay Packers and the 2025 Green Bay Packers, because it's been an up and down season. There's been injuries galore, just like in 2010. So we're just going to talk about some of the similarities, have a fun little conversation. Listen, in no way, shape, or form are we saying the Packers are going to win the Super Bowl this year. There's a chance. And what we're going to show you is how people looked at the 2010 Packers like they were so far away from winning a championship. And then all of a sudden you look up in February and they're hoisting the Lombardi. So we'll talk about that. We'll also dive into the Packers' top offensive graded players of the 2025 season so far and the top defensive players as well. Kind of give you a refresher, a little idea of, okay, here are the players who are really standing out. Here are the players who are underperforming, and just have a good little conversation about that as well. So appreciate everybody jumping in here. If you would, let's do that YouTube stuff. Hit like, hit subscribe, click the bell icon so you're notified when we go live in the future. If you're new here at PTA, welcome. Thank you for making us a part of your morning. We're not experts. We're not insiders. We're not media members. We are fan-run, fan-driven. We are fans just like you talking Packers on a daily basis. So if you're looking for that type of content, make sure you hit like, subscribe, and click the bell icon so you know when we do these live streams here in the future. Appreciate everybody jumping in here. We got Paige and Dr. Crutch in the house. Good to see you. Good morning to you. We got Chris in here. We got Daniel, Go Pack Go, Super Bowl. Here we come. I love the optimism. I love it. And I think it's funny, I've been kind of dubbed as the positive Packers podcaster, right? I'm always looking at the glass half full. I don't see this team ready to win a Super Bowl. We're just going to talk about some of the similarities. And I didn't think 2010 was ready. And lo and behold, it happened, right? So let's see here. We got Don Juan in the house. I swear I've been saying the same thing. Now watch Marshawn Lloyd get released in the playoffs and take this thing to another level, a la James Starks. Let's go, man. James Starks really did. You talk about a guy who stepped up. And I think he was out of the league, a year or two after the Packers let him go. But, boy, he got his ring, didn't he? And got to play in the National Football League, got to make a little money. I'm sure he got a degree from Buffalo. So I'm sure we need to check up on James Starks, see what he's into nowadays. That'd be fun, man. Let's see here. We got Paige and Dr. Crutch. Happy Festivus to all who celebrate. Yeah, that's right. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Festivus, everything in between, right? The team nobody really wants to see. Amen to that. We got Mike Berry in here, and yeah, that would be cool. Chris Casuin, you're right. Lloyd is the finishing piece. Wouldn't that be wild if Marshawn Lloyd was activated for the playoffs and he just went on a tear? That'd be crazy. Didn't even think about that. That wasn't in the show notes. So, all right, let's dive into it. 2010 Packers versus the 25, Green Bay Packers and the similarities. First of all, I want to start with this tweet. Bill Huber reposted it, and it popped up on my timeline. You guys remember Jaron Elliott? Now, listen, I don't know if Jaron Elliott, I don't think he was on the 2010 team. I could be wrong, though. He might have been. But he just tweeted out, it's still go, Pack, go. Get these losses out of the way now. Still can win the North and make a run. There's a lot to this tweet, guys. When you lose a tough game like that, it's easy to just think, oh, no, coming down the stretch, you're starting to lose ball games. Well, there's another team that did that as well. And I'm going to drop that down and show you guys what I'm talking about here as Jaron Elliott's tweet that went out there. Let's just put up on the screen here, and I apologize for the ads. There's nothing we can do about that. If Mandy's watching the show, she's going to know what I got her for Christmas, I believe. So we got to be careful with the ads popping up. But so here we go. This is the the 2010 regular season, okay? And one thing I want to point out here, and we got a list of other similarities that go kind of hand in hand, right? With the 2010 Packers and the 2025 Packers here, right? So the thing I want to point out in week 13 of that year in 2010, at Detroit, the Packers lost 7-3. Okay. At New England, the Packers lost 31-27. All right. So weeks 13 and 14, the reason I'm pointing this out, we just finished weeks 15 and 16 and we lost both those weeks, right? And they were close games, right? Just like both of these games were close. So they had 2 weeks remaining. Okay. Week 16, I said weeks 13, 14. It was actually weeks 14 and 15 in 2010. Week 16 and week 17, they had 2 weeks remaining, right? They didn't have 18 weeks back then. The Packers have 2 weeks remaining. And look at how they finished their season. They beat the Giants 45-17, and then they beat the Bears 10-3. Okay. So that's how the Packers ended their season, was with 2 wins going into the playoffs. And then, of course, when you look up in the playoffs, you beat the Eagles on the road by 5 points. You win in Atlanta 48-21, an absolute boat race down there. Then you go to Chicago for the NFC Championship. Could see that happen this year as well, right? If you make it that far. 21-14, they beat the Bears. And then, of course, you beat the Pittsburgh Steelers by 6 points there in the Super Bowl. So, again, everything just continues to line up exactly like 2010. It's just so strange. We've talked about it all year. You know, another thing, we talked about the concussion. Let's just kind of dive in. I'm going to keep this stuff up on the screen so you guys can see how that year ended. Let me just leave it right there for you. So here are some other similarities, okay? In 2010, Matt Flynn nearly beat the Patriots after Aaron Rodgers was concussed. So again, that Detroit loss, if I'm remembering correctly, guys, on the road in Detroit, you lose 7-3. That's when Aaron Rodgers got the concussion, okay? Well, Jordan Love just got a concussion this past week against the Bears. So really he missed a good chunk of the Bears game, right? I think he went out in the first half. So it's almost like this New England game here on the road, New England was on the road against Chicago. Because again, you got 2 games after that, right? And then he returned against the Giants and they dropped 45 points, obviously. So in 2010, Matt Flynn nearly beat the Patriots after Aaron Rodgers was concussed. The Packers played well statistically, but lost due to self-inflicted mistakes. Yet didn't lose another game and won the Super Bowl. Self-inflicted mistakes. What did we just talk about, right? Well, the current Packers just lost 22-16 in overtime to the Bears, again with a backup quarterback in Malik Willis, playing excellent football, which, by the way, shout out to Matt Flynn, played great against New England, right? That might have been the guy. I think that was the game where he tied the franchise record for most touchdown passes, right? But the game unraveled because of critical mistakes. Similarities in the Bears loss this last week, right? The Packers outgained Chicago. They won the time of possession. They committed fewer penalties. Still, yet they lost due to a muffed onside kick, dropped interceptions, coverage bust late, Josh Jacobs goal line fumble, and a botched 4th and 1 snap in OT. If any of those 5 things don't happen, you win that ballgame, right? And again, this isn't me going, we should have won. It's just pointing out that's how close they were. And when you look at the way things kind of happened in 2010, it's similar. At Detroit, you end up losing 7-3. I mean, you can't even score. You can't even score 8 points in that game, right? In 2010, could you imagine what the fan? I remember it. You remember what the fan base was like back then? Can you imagine if you weren't watching the Packers then what the fan base would have been? Oh, without Aaron Rodgers, they can only score 3 points. My God, there ain't no way this team's a Super Bowl team, right? And then you go on the road to New England. If I remember correctly, you guys correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't there an offensive lineman that had a huge kick return or something? Or was that a different game? I'm trying to remember. But anyway, 31-27, that might have been a different year. But 31-27 with your backup quarterback, you lose on the road. Yeah, you can't win, right? And then, of course, New York Giants, you go out there and you drop 45 freaking points on them and beat them 45-17. And then, of course, on the road in Chicago, you win 10-3. Chicago had a great defense that year, if I remember correctly. So when you look at the similarities, again, how you lost to the Bears in Chicago, it sucked. It was gut-wrenching. It was one of the toughest post-game shows I've ever had to do. It's just like, man, you deserve to win that game. It's kind of what Caleb Williams was saying at the end of the game, too, in the post-game presser. Well, it was like, that's a hell of a football team over there. Like, you could see it all over his face, like, we did not deserve to win this game, right? So just like 2010, the Packers are banged up, but still firmly in the playoff hunt. And outside of help, if the Steelers beating the Lions, right, help keep the playoff odds strong. So, again, in 2010, I remember when Jermichael Finley went down, It's like, damn, this was supposed to be his breakout year. I remember that like it was yesterday. It was supposed to be his breakout year. I remember he was tweeting Yodo, right? Year of the takeover is what he dubbed it. And then he gets hurt. I think he hurt his knee, if I remember correctly, that year. And the Packers had to go on without him. If I remember right, it was Andrew Corliss was a tight end that we leaned on really, really heavily, right? So now who's one of our star players? He's still fifth in receiving yards amongst tight ends, and he hasn't played in 7 weeks. That's Tucker Kraft, right? Well, he goes out with an injury. Bang. So now, all right, there's another parallel being drawn, right? There was a ton of injuries. I remember our boy Ryan Grant was one of the better running backs in the league, right? I would say a top 10 back at least. He gets injured, and that's when James Starks emerges. He comes in and takes over, right? There was just so many injuries across the board. It's wild. Playoff math. Packers need one win in their final 2 games to clinch a playoff spot, okay? The division title is still technically possible with help, obviously, but it's looking like the Packers will probably be the 7 seed. Most likely, that's what the numbers are saying, which the Packers were the 7 seed or the final seed in the playoffs back then, right? I think back then it was just 6, if I remember correctly. So playoff math, yeah, we talked about that. Let's see here. What happens next more than the loss itself? 2010 worked because Mike McCarthy created unwavering belief, accountability, and confidence in the roster he had. Matt LaFleur's response publicly was calm and professional, praising effort, but acknowledging the failure to make key plays. So again, you're seeing these parallels of these coaches. Mike McCarthy hadn't won a Super Bowl yet. Matt LaFleur hasn't won a Super Bowl yet. The real question is whether LaFleur can replicate the locker room leadership and confidence McCarthy showed in 2010. The piece challenges Jordan Love to take the next step and win games late, similarly to how Caleb Williams did against Green Bay. Obviously, Caleb pulled that one, another rabbit out of the hat, right? Well, Aaron Rodgers was starting to do that in his career. You know, Aaron Rodgers in 2010 was not seen as an elite quarterback yet, right? That came a few years later. Really, it came, the Super Bowl MVP is what really sparked that, right? So, again, man, I think the Packers do have enough talent to make a run here. I don't think the season's over. But again, you know, like it's being mentioned, you've got to have the team identity's got to be established, which I don't buy so much into a team identity, but it's the leadership and the clutch execution. You got to figure out ways to make plays down the stretch, right? You got to figure out ways to make plays when the game is on the line. That's essentially what it comes down to. And again, we talked about the similarities of Jordan Love's age and his experience and Aaron Rodgers' age and experience at the time. All those things kind of coincide, right? So going to be really, really interesting. Coach Lynn says here in the chat, I'm finally starting to get over that loss. Not really, LOL. It's tough because it's the Bears. And it is funny seeing NFL memes and other people rake the Bears fans over the coals because they're treating it like it was a Super Bowl, right? Like somebody, NFL memes have put a tweet out and they just hit the nail on the freaking head, man. What it said was something along the lines of, and it showed a basketball team celebrating, I guess, a meaningless win. And it was like, you know, the Bears celebrating knowing they beat the Packers without Jordan Love, without Micah Parsons, right? And you could go on down the line, right? But those are, if you were to say going into that game or going into this season, once we got Micah Parsons, who are the 2 most important players for the Packers to go on a championship run? I think everybody would say Jordan Love on offense, your starting quarterback, and Micah Parsons, the edge defender superstar that you just picked up. It took the Bears had to take us to overtime to beat us in that game. With Jordan Love back healthy and the roster getting healthier down the playoffs, if we do face the Bears somehow, some way again in the playoffs, guys, I feel really damn good about the Packers beating that team. They had only scored 6 points on offense with 5 minutes left in the game. And everything just kind of crumbled. It fell apart. The muffed onside kick. If you don't blow the coverages, I'm not saying you got to make a play, a dramatic CB1 type play. But if you just don't blow the coverages in those situations, you win that game. I really believe that. If you make Caleb thread the needle, like that throw to DJ Moore, the reason he doesn't hesitate to throw that ball is because DJ Moore is so open. Now, Keyshawn kind of catches up to him, right, and gets a hand on him. It should have been pass interference, but also it looks like the ball might have hit the ground too when you look at the replay. Quay Walker's being held from behind. There's just so many different factors that come in, right? Really the way I see that last play is it should have been kind of a push. They should have called pass interference. Let's say that Quay is getting held there, right? But Keyshawn got away with pass interference. Although the argument is if Quay doesn't get held with the jersey from behind, he probably gets to Caleb and the ball's either inaccurate or he sacks him, strips him, whatever, right? So ifs and buts for candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. Or as we say in the South, if ifs were fifths, we'd all be drunk, right? So it's just tough, man. It's tough. It's a tough loss. But again, I feel good. I feel really, really good about us going on that run. Based off of if Jordan is healthy and you sneak into the playoffs. Like, I don't think it's impossible, right? Reggie in the chat says, who's going to be the Tramon Williams of the playoffs round? One of these DBs need to step up. That's Reggie. That is a great point, man. That's a great point. Tramon Williams balled out. The pick 6 in Atlanta before halftime. That's when you were like, holy cow. I think there's something special going on here, right? Who's the Tramon Williams? You could say it's Carrington Valentine, possibly, right? Is he going to step his game up? Do you look up and go, Kamal Hadden? Is there a chance that they play Kamal Hadden over Keyshawn Nixon? I don't know. What's crazy about the Keyshawn Nixon situation is I think Keyshawn's a good corner. When I watch him play, I watch his ball skills, and I watch how aggressive he is against the run. He's a good corner. He's got the physical traits. He's got the ability to be a good corner. The problem is right here. And what I mean by that is, from on the pod, I pointed at my head. He tries to jump routes when he knows that's not his scheme call, right? So when I look at Keyshawn, I don't think he's not fast enough to play. He's not twitchy enough to play. He's not aggressive enough to play, right? I don't think that. When I look at Keyshawn, I think he's being too selfish. He's trying to be aggressive, playing underneath on bite routes when he knows he's in a quarter match coverage or that banjo coverage that you've seen on the touchdown. For those of you who are wondering, we were going to try to do Chalk Talk. Christmas has got everything all to haywire. I'm going to be out of pocket tonight. I don't know if we're going to get it done. But one play I wanted to highlight was the touchdown that we gave up there late in the game, right? And it was a blown coverage. Here's what happened on that play. You had 2 receivers on that side. And when they're semi-stacked like that, when they're close together, typically you've either got a press call or a banjo call, right? Press call means you get up there and you press the receivers, and it's literally an aggressive press man coverage, and you follow that receiver. Or you got a banjo call where you play a little off and let the receivers declare. And whichever direction they go in, the inside corner takes the guy on the inside release, the outside corner takes the guy on the outside release. Well, they release, right? Nate Hobbs goes with his guy. Granted, he slips a little bit, but Caleb didn't throw to his guy. And then the other guy was going to be Keyshawn's. And he literally just lets him go back and just on an outbreaker, Keyshawn doesn't even cover him. Like, I'm trying to get inside his mind. Like, what did he see there? What was he thinking there? Did he just guess wrong that they were going to have an underneath route and he was just going to bite underneath? Because immediately you see him turn like, oh, crap, and the guy is just absolutely wide open in the back corner of the end zone. That's what I mean by Keyshawn Nixon. I think he's got the talent, the physical tools, the traits, all that stuff, right? I mean, we see he was leading the league in PBUs for like 6 weeks. Well, why is that? Because he's aggressive, right? He's biting on the underneath stuff when another corner might, well, this isn't my assignment. Let me play off a little bit. So it was a positive early that's turned into a negative late. And if he can clean that up, who knows? Maybe Keyshawn is the Tramon Williams of the playoffs. But again, I don't look at it like he can't play. I just look at it like he gets away from his assignment. He plays too aggressive in that regard. And, to be honest with you, it goes hand in hand with the personal fouls too. The cheap shot he took on DJ Moore. I know there's a portion of the fan base that has no problem with it because he took a cheap shot on Jordan. I got you. It just rubs me the wrong way. If I'm going to get mad over a cheap shot on Jordan Love, then I don't want to be a hypocrite. I need to be mad over Keyshawn taking a cheap shot on DJ Moore. And it's just stuff like that. It's like, where in the game plan did they say, hey, look, forget your assignment. Go hit somebody in the spine when you get a chance. Forget your assignment. Just go try to hurt somebody. That bothers me, man. So I don't know. That's just me though. So yeah. And I know everybody's firing off all kinds of Kadar Hallman, Sam equals Sam Shields, right? It's so cool to go back to the old names of the Super Bowl years and things like that back in the day. But there you go. That's a good, right? JAFXL says, why not McKinney to be the Tramon Williams, right? Well, McKinney was a safety, but I get what you're saying there, right? You know what I was thinking, and just to take it a little layer further, when you look at that 2010 Packers team, they had the number 1 defense in the league. Well, we don't have the number 1 defense, but we got a top 5 defense. That's one of the things that's not similar enough. But I immediately thought, man, they had Nick Collins, though. God, what a pick six machine, just an interception machine. Then immediately I went, the hell am I talking about? We got Xavier McKinney. Now, is Xavier McKinney as good as Nick Collins? We'll never know because Nick Collins' career was cut short with the broken neck, right? Unfortunately, what a great player, man. I got to see his very first game in the NFL. I was sitting there at Lambeau Field, and I remember looking at my then girlfriend, now wife, Mandy. I said, 36 is the fastest player on the field. I could not believe it. And keep in mind, guys, that's back in 2000 and God, I can't remember what year it was. Whatever his rookie year was. It wasn't 2010, but it was his rookie year. We went and watched them play. I want to say it was the Browns, I think. That's the game that we went to, and it was at Lambeau. And I just remember thinking, 36 is the fastest. It wasn't even close. He was just buzzing around the field. I'm like, who is this kid from Bethune-Cookman College? It was Nick Collins. So I'm not saying that if he had stayed fully healthy, that he would be better than McKinney or McKinney's already better than him. I'm not trying to draw that comparison. It's just simply we've got that guy at safety. So that's where I would push back a little bit, J.A., is, McKinney playing safety, Tramon Williams playing corner. So I think it would, if I had to choose right now, I would say it would be Carrington Valentine. I could see Carrington Valentine just go on a fluky hot streak in the playoffs and just get a couple of interceptions, right? I could see that. So, yeah. Yeah, and I agree with that, what Don Juan says here, man. McKinney dropping these interceptions, head-scratching. It really is, man. It's just – but you can look at it a number of different ways, right? He caught his way last year, right? He'd never had a year, to the best of my knowledge, where he had that many interceptions in his career in New York. He's been great, don't get me wrong. But, yeah, so you could look at it like, okay, well, he caught more than he probably should have last year, so this is kind of balancing out, right? Which means he's due for the playoffs. That'd be awesome, right? So there you go. This is a fun little conversation, man. I'm glad we got into it, for sure. This is it's always interesting to talk about teams in the past and compare them to the future, or the current, I should say. So if you guys are watching this video back later, let me know in the comments, how do you feel about this comparison? Do you think it's overblown? Do you think there's something to it? It just seems like there's always similarities that keep popping up. Is history about to repeat itself, and the Packers weren't going to go on this run as potentially the 7th seed and win the Super Bowl? We want to hear from you guys in the comments. Let us know there. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, and click the bell icon so you're notified when we go live anytime here in the near future. All right, let's shift gears now. Let's talk current Packers. Who has performed? All right, we're going to shift gears into PFF grades, and we're going to talk about each side of the ball. I was going to do the Bears game and just kind of give you guys an idea of, all right, here are the players that played really well or played not so well in the Bears game. But instead, I thought we would change things up a little bit, and let's see which players have performed up to this point this season, okay? And what you're seeing here is the team grades are sorted by overall PFF grades. The Green Bay Packers are currently the 4th highest graded team in terms of overall PFF grades as a team at 88.3. The only teams better than them are the Detroit Lions at 93, the Seattle Seahawks at 93, and the LA Rams at 95.9. Now, people are looking at Detroit going, Clayton, those grades can't be right. They're 8 and 7. Again, the way I see this, when you look at stats like EPA and you look at stats like PFF grades, and you got a team who's grading out really, really well, or the EPA is really high, and the team has a lower record, I kind of looked at it as, okay, the coaching is probably holding them back. It's either that or they're injury riddled. In this case with Detroit, I think it's a combination of both. Dan Campbell has cost his team, I think, 2 or 3 wins going forward on 4th down. That's just my personal opinion. I think they probably should be a 10-win team right now. But he's just constantly going forward on 4th down and putting his team behind the 8 ball. I think their players have played good, and they also have a ton of injuries. With the Packers, similar. We don't go for it on 4th down near as much as Detroit does, but you've got a couple, like this last game in Chicago, right? If you take the 3 points early, you end up winning that ball game by 3. Another key factor there, if Josh Jacobs doesn't fumble there inside the 5 and you take 3 there, you win the ball game. Or if you get a touchdown there without the fumble, you win the ball game, right? So, I mean, you can look at it a number of different ways. But with Green Bay, the same thing, man. We are just riddled with injuries. How many starters are we missing? I mean, if you go across, I know I'll miss some, but if you go across the entire roster here and talk about, all right, how many starters are the Packers missing? Don't count Jordan Love because he's coming back, right? He's not out for the year. Josh Jacobs has missed a bunch of time, in my opinion, with the injury, them having to pull him and kind of be on a pitch count, right? Marshawn Lloyd was supposed to get a healthy number of the carries this year. He's on IR. We were all excited about him breaking out based off what we've seen in the preseason. At the receiver position, you start the season with Christian Watson on the pup, didn't come back till what was it, November, late October, or early November, right? Jaden Reed goes out from week 2 until we just got him back a few games ago. Receiving wise, Matthew Golden's missed some significant snaps too, I would say. Tight end, you lose your number 1 tight end in Tucker Kraft, right? It's just key on starters here. You lose your starting center, Elton Jenkins, right? He's done for the year. Tom's missed a little bit of time, but I wouldn't really include him. But still, that's enough injuries on offense, obviously. On defense, you now lose Micah Parsons, right? You lost Devontae Wyatt, your starting 3-tech, arguably the most important position on defense. You guys know how I feel about that. It's edge defense, edge defender, and 3-tech defensive tackle. So you're missing both of those guys. You jump ahead to let's see, the cornerback position. Do we have any significant cornerback injuries? We really don't, right? So, yeah, that's kind of how you look at it. So you're missing the 2 most important spots, your playmakers at the 2 most important spots at edge defender and at 3-tech. So that's tough on defense. And again, on offense, you're missing Tucker Kraft was your top tight end, your top receiving threat, really. So, but anyway, let's jump into it. Team reports, we're going to go offense. Here are the 2025 grades in terms of offensive players. And I think I've actually got the wrong one put up. I don't know why it did New England. So let's just go Green Bay here. Boom. All right. So here are your top players on offense according to PFF. All right. Here is the list. Get it zoomed in for y'all. Number 1, Jordan Love, 88.5 is his PFF grade. Jordan has played his ass off this year, man. What a fun player to watch. That's if you had told me going into the year, Clayton, in 2025, Jordan Love is going to grade out an elite 88.5 grade. He's going to be in the MVP conversation. I would have said, I think we're winning the Super Bowl, boys. But again, you tack on all these injuries, and it's like, dang. You would have won that game, I feel like, if the injuries hadn't occurred and all the crazy stuff that happened that ensued there at the end. Everybody looks at Malik Willis, and he played great. I love Malik Willis. I'm so glad he's a Green Bay Packer. It sucks he's probably not going to be here next year. I think we got the best backup in the game. But the offense does change when Jordan leaves the game because you don't have as much of the freedom of him canning in and out of plays. And we've seen it all year long. It's all over the tape. Jordan giving hand signals to Christian Watson and Matthew Golden, that last game where Matthew Golden had those 3 catches, right? So that's something that definitely comes into factor too. But Jordan Love, 88.5. Josh Jacobs, 87.4. Been a dominant player this year. Again, just another great year for Josh Jacobs. I hope he gets healthy for the playoffs because seeing him not be 100% is really, really tough for me as a Packer fan. I feel like it's what's holding us back probably the most on offense. Zach Tom, 83.5. Maybe we'll get him back this week. Definitely by next week, I would imagine. Christian Watson. And let me say this too. The Zach Tom, Evan Williams injuries, it was 1 to 2 weeks, 1 to 3 weeks. They were some people had varying opinions there. The magic number is 1. Okay. Now, keep in mind, if the Bears lose their last 2 games and we win our last 2 games, we win the North, and that's great. We'd host a playoff game. That's awesome. But at the detriment of playing players hurt, just like I talked about in Chicago, and you see it kind of bit us in the ass with Josh Jacobs and a couple other areas there. If you go out and you sit Zach Tom and Evan Williams this week to make sure you get them both back for Week 18 against the Vikings, your magic number is 1. What that means is if the Lions lose on Thursday night, we're in the playoffs. We lock the playoff spot, minimum 7 seed, right? If let's say the Lions win and the Packers lose this week, we can still win in Week 18 and make the playoffs. The magic number is 1 Lions loss, 1 Packers win. Either of those scenarios, and the Packers are in the playoffs. I wouldn't be surprised if the coaching staff says, all right, anybody who's banged up, let's sit them this week. And if we take an L, we take an L. We have got to beat the Vikings in week 18 and focus on getting, you got to choose, man. You got to get your guys healthy enough for a playoff run if that's the goal, right? If that's the plan here. So I wouldn't be surprised if they play it conservative this week and put us in a situation where we might potentially lose to the Ravens and then go in and win. Look to, all right, throw all your chips on the table week 18. Let's try to get in the playoffs. But again, the other argument is, well, Clayton, what about the North? I would love to win the North. But once again, like going into Chicago, what if you play these guys hurt? And you see what Josh Jacobs was the other night. He wasn't nowhere near himself, right? Emmanuel Wilson was way more effective running the football. Nobody here thinks Emmanuel Wilson's a better running back than Josh Jacobs. I know I don't anyway. Maybe you guys disagree, and we can agree to disagree there. But in Chicago Saturday night, he was, because Josh Jacobs wasn't healthy. You seen him limping on and off the field. The fumble was so uncharacteristic, right? Well, when you're worried about hobbling around on one damn knee and absorbing hits to make sure you don't hurt that knee even worse, you take your focus off the ball a little bit. Now, I'm of the belief forward progress was stopped. They pushed him back 3 yards, then stripped the ball out. I don't know what the hell the officials are doing. Forward progress stopped. The rule is you're supposed to blow it dead. Makes no sense to me. But again, we're not going to turn this into a bad officiating episode. Everybody's doing that across the league right now with the bad calls in the Patriots game the other night. Them holding Stephon Diggs out. That's been kind of the common thing now. I said I wasn't going to get into it. Here I am getting into it. Have you noticed how they're holding players out for concussions and not letting them go back in the game? And all of a sudden, oh, well, no, it wasn't a concussion. Like Stephon Diggs was very vocal about that. You guys go check out his comments yourself on X. It's really weird how it seems like the team that the league wants to win, all of a sudden a player hits the ground. Oh, got to check him for a concussion. Remember they did the Micah earlier this year, and he's like, I told him I'm fine. I don't know why they wouldn't let me back in the game, right? It's just strange. It's strange how the officiating's going. So, again, if you do that and you're aggressive and you go out there against Baltimore and you, God forbid, Zach Tom is done for the year because he re-injures something because he wasn't fully healthy, or Evan Williams does with his knee and he's not fully healthy, and you lose those guys for the playoffs, now your back's really against the wall. So to me, it's about getting in, right? It's about getting in. So, all right, moving along. Christian Watson, 83.0. What a great year for Christian Watson. Excited for the future for him. Tucker Kraft still grading out as our fifth best player to 78.1. Darian Kennard, 73.8. Jaden Reed, 73.5. Malik Willis, 72.1. Chris Brooks, 71.2. Dontavion Wicks, 70.2. Romeo Dobbs, 69.3. Matthew Golden, 68.2. Rasheed Walker, 66.3. I would consider those players as, hey, look, these are the guys that are getting it done this year, those 13 players, okay? Rasheed Walker, Matthew Golden, Romeo Dobbs, Dontavion Wicks, Brooks, Willis, Jaden Reed, Darian Kennard, Tucker Kraft, Christian Watson, Zach Tom, Josh Jacobs, and Jordan Love. So when you look at all those players, who's under contract next year, this is kind of forward thinking, right? And again, some people are going, Clayton, we ain't made it to the playoffs yet. Why are we talking about forward thinking? Because that's what the team's doing right now. And that's what we try to do on this show, is try to think, what is the front office looking at right now in terms of modeling the roster, right? The blueprint for success moving forward. Jordan Love's under contract. Josh Jacobs is under contract. Zach Tom's under contract. Your three highest graded players, according to PFF, are all under contract. You're good to go. Christian Watson, under contract through next year. So you got him for one more year. You're good to go there. Tucker Kraft under contract. You got to get the ACL healthy, and we're good to go. Okay. Darian Kennard is an interesting one. I want to say we have rights to him moving forward. It's going to bother me if I don't check it. Let me do this real quick. Darian Kennard, and we'll go spot track real quick. I don't want to misspeak here. When you look at Darian Kennard's contract in terms of his, of course, it's going to hiccup here. Here we go. Okay. So he is a restricted free agent after this year. You guys know exclusive rights free agents and restricted free agency. If you want them back, you can get them back. Because another team, they're going to have to give up a draft pick to you if they match your offer or what have you, right? So you can pretty much say he's under contract. If you want him back, you can get Darian Kennard back. It's a yes for me, guys. Give him some kind of deal and make another team match it. Worst case scenario, you get a third or a fourth round pick immediately for it with a comp, or not a comp pick, but a restricted free agency pick. But with Darian Kennard, he's been one of your best offensive linemen, 73.8. He's a great run blocker, 77.6. And in the pass block grades, a 62.9. But I would like to see Darian Kennard on this roster in the future. And I think Goody agrees because Goody, I know it was just a 7th-round pick, but Goody gave up a draft pick. You know how Goody is with those draft picks. So Darian Kennard, I'd like to see him be a part of the future. Jaden Reed, he's definitely a part of the future. He's under contract next year. Malik Willis sucks. He doesn't suck. The situation sucks. Let me clarify. Malik Willis is not under contract next year. And that sucks because what do? We talked about going in this year. We had seen enough. I would give him a solid backup contract, kind of like what they did in Chicago with Tyson Bagent. Give him something like a 2 or a 3 year deal worth $5 million per. It's worth it. It's worth it. We have not done that. So now Malik Willis is going to hit free agency most likely. Okay. And I think teams will overpay for him. Hell, he might get $10 million a year based off what he's shown because he's shown it multiple times now. Right. So Malik Willis is the first one out of the top 13 that you go, probably not going to be here next year. Chris Brooks, we got his rights. We can get him back if we want him. Dontavion Wicks is under contract next year for 1 more year. He's coming back. Romeo Dobbs, you're going to be losing. I think he'll walk in free agency and a team will give him decent money. That's just me personally. If they don't, then you can get him back for pennies on a dollar. And that's a great situation there for the Packers as well, right? And then Matthew Golden in the number 12 spot, obviously he's on a rookie contract. Matthew Golden's going to be a great football player. Mark my words. If Romeo Dobbs gets offered a good contract in free agency and he goes on to play for somebody else, Matthew Golden's your new X receiver. That's what's going to happen. He's going to play boundary X, and I think he's going to be damn good at it. I don't think you'll see a drop-off from Romeo Dobbs to Matthew Golden, especially with Matthew Golden being in the system 1 more year and learning the terminology even better and learning the choice routes and all that, and Jordan Love and Matthew Golden getting on the same page. We've seen it last week. The little hand signal slot fade where they ran with the Haas concept on the right side against the Chargers. That's big-time chemistry with Jordan Love, Matthew Golden. People go, he isn't getting opportunities. You know why? Because Romeo Dobbs is playing X. That's why. Now, if your argument is Matthew Golden needs to be out there over Romeo Dobbs, I can understand that argument. I get it. I don't think it's a silly argument. But I also understand the coaches trusting Romeo Dobbs in the important games. I mean, he had a hell of a game against Chicago. That's what sucks so bad about him dropping that onside kick. He played his ass off in that game. And all anybody's going to remember is the dropped onside kick. It sucks, you know? So, Matthew Golden, I think, is the future at X. So essentially what you got is Matthew Golden will be your X receiver. Jaden Reed will be your F or your moving slot receiver. Christian Watson is your speed Z. And what's cool is all 3 of those guys can play every position. Matthew Golden's played F, he's played Z, and he's built to play X. He's played some X too, but he's built to play X. Dontavion Wicks has played F. He's played X. He's played Z. They like him at Z more than I do. I don't think he's got that blazing speed that you want at Z on the field side, but he's done pretty good in space, creating separation with the route running. So those are going to be your top receivers next year. That's why I don't think that Romeo Dobbs will be back. Okay. Now let's talk about the players that have kind of underperformed, if you will. Okay. According to PFF, and you guys tell me in the chat, you may disagree and you like these players, right? There's some of them I like, right? Bo Melton, if he returns to the Packers, I would want him back on this team. I think he's valuable enough, his versatility, but he's a 63.1. Emmanuel Wilson, 62.4. I disagree with the grade. When I watch Emmanuel Wilson run, I think he's a great running back. Now, if Marshawn Lloyd's going to be healthy moving forward, people are going to, what are you smoking, Clinton? I understand. I'm just I know that's what the Packers are hoping for, so that's what I'm hoping for. But I understand the argument for sure. But E-Will coming back is going to be huge, right? If we were to search that real quick, I don't want to tell you guys wrong, but I think we've got him his rights somehow, some way. That's a beautiful thing when you pick somebody up off the scrap heap, right? When you pick him up off the scrap heap and another team don't want him, he's a restricted free agent. So if you want him back, you can have him back. E-Will be back if the Packers want him. I think they probably will too, to be honest with you. Elton Jenkins, 62. If you cut him, I want to say that you free up $20 million, guys. I didn't plan on this turning into a contract conversation, but I'm glad we're getting into it. Let's see exactly how much money you could free up with Elton Jenkins moving on. This is supposed to be just an eval. We're not going to get to the defense today, but this will be fun on offense here. So next year, his cap hit is $24.8 million. His dead cap is $4.8 million. What's that mean? You can free up $20 million in cap space next year, guys, if you just cut Elton Jenkins outright, right? So I don't think Elton Jenkins is going to be here unless he takes a huge pay cut. That's me personally. So I think Elton Jenkins will be gone. Sean Ryan is set to be a free agent. I don't think he's shown enough to pay him starter money, but he has been better than I expected. If he tests free agency, doesn't get any offers, you can get him back for $2 or $3 million per. I think it's worth it to have a guy with versatility being a backup center and someone who can play guard. Now, according to PFF, Sean Ryan has played center just as good as Elton Jenkins this year. 62 and a 61.8. That's the difference. So I don't know how you guys feel. This might be a hot take. I think I agree with that. Do you guys agree that Sean Ryan has played just as good as Elton Jenkins at center? I think I do. How do y'all feel about that? Let's see what the chat's saying here. Coach says keep Sean Ryan. All right. So that's pretty self-explanatory. Coach says Ryan was better. J. Cole says Sean Ryan at center next year. If anything, Jay, what you've got there is you're building a high floor, right? Like let's lock down a potential starting center. We've seen him play starting center, right? And Sean Ryan. And he's a former third-round pick, so they've seen something in him out of the gate right now. He never performed like that right out of the gate. But if you sign him for a really good price contract and then you find a center in the draft or you find a better center in free agency, well, that's great. Now you feel really good about your backup center, right? So you're building that floor kind of high. And you guys know how I feel about center. It's tier 2 of importance for me on offense. There is tackle position and quarterback are tier 1, and center is the only tier 2 position for me. I don't see any other position as more important than center. And I think we found out that the hard way the last few years. Snap the effing ball, Josh, right? And then, of course, Elton Jenkins thinking we were just going to make that easy transition back, myself included, to him playing center, and it just didn't work. So, yeah, I'm with you. J. Cole. I would bring him back. And, again, if you could find a better center, great. But, everybody's saying that they think Ryan would play better. Yeah, Coach says we're depth piece, right? Everybody's saying that he's better. I'm glad it's not just me. I feel like Sean Ryan played better than Elton Jenkins this year. Malik Heath, 60.6. Savion Williams, a rookie. Remember, we say if you crack that 60 mark as a rookie, it's a pretty good indicator you're going to be a good football player. It's only 91 snaps, but Savion Williams at a 60.2, I think he'll be good. Ben Sims, obviously, he's no longer on the team. Josh Wiley, 58.6. He's done the job, but I think you can get better at tight end. What I'm noticing at tight end, you got Luke Musgrave, 57, John Fitzpatrick, 56. Let's talk tight end for a second, and then we'll get ready to wrap up here. Well, hold up a minute. We got to go back because this is right down my alley. Ben Holden says move Zach Tom to center. Ben Holden, you're going to catch a lot of hate for that if you tweet that out. I know that because I have. I don't disagree with that, man. I don't. You drafted Anthony Belton, who's a left tackle his entire career, right? You drafted Jordan Morgan in the first round, who's a left tackle his entire career. If you move Zach Tom to center, I personally think you've got the best center in all of football. And again, we've seen him play center. They've talked about it over and over and over. That he would be the word was that Zach Tom, and this got mixed up a lot within people on Twitter and in the YouTube comments and everything in between. A comment was made about Zach Tom that he is a starting right tackle. I think they said he was a great right tackle, an all pro guard, and a Hall of Fame center is how they viewed him. Okay. Because, the position gets a little more difficult as you get inside. And people say, well, why do you see center as more important than guard, Clayton? Because the center is the only player on the football field other than a quarterback. In some cases, the quarterback doesn't even apply with tush pushes and things. The center is the only player on the field that touches the ball every single down, right? So I want one of my best players to be the center. You look at the teams that have gone on these dynastic runs, right, and winning multiple Lombardis. What's the common denominator? They had great center play. The Chiefs had it with Creed Humphrey. The Patriots always had a great center. Now, they mixed and matched, and they would trade one off, and they'd replace it with somebody else that was great, right? But like David Andrews comes to mind. I can't think of the one before David Andrews, but Patriots always had great center play. Packers, Scott Wells was a great center when they won in 2010, on and on. So, yeah, I would be okay with it, Ben. There's many people that say, no, you're paying him too much to play center. I'm sorry. I don't agree with that. I don't. I think if he can sure up the center spot and either Anthony Belton or Jordan Morgan can play right tackle and left tackle with that combination, or you have to go out and spend a draft pick and get a starting right tackle, I'm okay with that. However, the thought of Zach Tom staying at right tackle and Sean Ryan or you upgrading the center position, I'm okay with that too. So I'm kind of indifferent either way, right? Ben Holden says Tom's size is perfect for center. It really is, right? Because again, some people were looking at Tom like he's a little bit undersized because you get these tackles that are 6'6", 6'7" now, huge. Never mind. You got these guys that are huge playing tackles. So yeah. But to the tight end position, what we were talking about, I would like to have Wiley back. Luke Musgrave will be back. I'd like to have John Fitzpatrick back if the Achilles heals in time. But you got Tucker Kraft, you got Luke Musgrave, you got Josh Wiley. I think you got room to take a swing on another tight end. I mean, you look across the league and, like what the Patriots are doing right now. I think it's the Patriots. I believe it is. No, it's the Steelers. Jonnu Smith. Jonnu Smith was kind of a hybrid tight end. They use him in the backfield. He was like another, he played New England for a little bit like another tight end that will remain nameless on this particular podcast, who was great grouped up with Gronk on the football field. Very similar play style. He can run the rock. It's kind of a hybrid tight end. If you could find somebody like that to incorporate into Matt LaFleur's offense, I think that would be huge because that's definitely the direction that the league continues to go in is 12 personnel because the EPA per pass play out of 12 is through the roof across the league. So back to offensive line. Jordan Morgan, 55.7. Aaron Banks, 55.6. Anthony Belton, 44.5. Guys, those are Cheeks grades. And when I look at all three of those players, I don't go, but no, he's played good. People were talking like Anthony Belton was playing great when he first got cracked into the lineup. I think it's because they hated Jordan Morgan so much. You guys know if you watch the show, I never bought into that. I was just like, man, I don't know. I'm watching the tape. I don't think he's played horrible to the tune of 44. But these people that are pretending like Anthony Belton is a great offensive lineman, I'm just not seeing it yet. It's still early, right? It's still early for me. Now, let's talk Aaron Banks real quick, his contract, and then we'll go ahead and move along here. Aaron Banks, I don't know why it keeps doing that. Close that out. Give me just a second. I want to talk about what you free up because we talked about if you move on from Elgton Jenkins, you free up $20 million, right? People say, Clayton, we can't move on from Aaron Banks. We paid him $77 million. The contract is structured. Yes, it was a 4-year deal for $77 million, but the signing bonus was $27 million. Okay. So here's what you come down to. Next year with Aaron Banks, his cap hit is $24.8 million. Raise your hand in the chat if you want to have a cap charge next year of $24.8 million for Aaron Banks. Hopefully nobody has their hand up. I know mine's not up. So what's the dead cap attached? $20.2 million. Now listen, that's a tough pill to swallow, but essentially what it means is if you cut Aaron Banks at the end of this year, the potential out is this year, right? You're going to eat $20.2 million in dead cap, but you're freeing up $4 million in cap space. So between Elgton Jenkins and Aaron Banks, who I think we would all agree are two offensive linemen that dramatically underperformed this year, you could cut both of them outright at the end of the year, and you could free up $24 million in cap space. You could go into free agency and, dare I say, probably find two offensive linemen, $12 million each in terms of cap charge. And you could probably sign them and have a better offensive lineman than we showcased this year. Now, is there a chance Aaron Banks could get better in his second year in the system? Absolutely, there is. I'm just not banking on it. Now, will the Packers see it that way? Probably not. What I think the Packers could potentially do here, if they don't cut him outright, they're going to ask him to renegotiate. And he's got a base salary of $7.7 million next year, along with a roster bonus of $9.5 million. So what you've got is $17 million. I usually cut that number in half. And when it comes to roster bonus and base salary, combine that number, cut it in half, you come up with roughly, let's call it $7 million. You could free up $7 million by simply guaranteeing the money and tacking on voidable years to lower the cap hit. Now, the problem is you're guaranteeing more money for Aaron Banks. The goal is to put the best players on the field. I do not think Aaron Banks is that player. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Packers go to him and say, hey, look, we can cut you outright, okay? And you're out the rest of the contract, okay? You already got your signing bonus. Or would you be willing to take a $4 million pay cut this year? And what we'll do is the other four will basically convert $8 million to signing, or we'll shave off $4 million off the contract, and then we'll write you a check for $4 million, a second signing bonus here. Bang, that's in your pocket. That's going in the bank. And then they'll tack on that $4 million on the backside. So you save $4 million off the overall contract, and then you move $4 million, therefore freeing up $8 million in cap space. That makes sense. So you lower his number to roughly $16 million will be the cap hit next year. So I'm going to ask the chat one more time. Would you be willing? I think I know the answer. Would you be willing to keep Aaron Banks at a $16 million cap hit next year as opposed to $24 million? The answer is yes if you have to choose between the two, right? But would you rather free up that money or just cut him outright and find somebody better to replace him? I know I would cut him and move on. That's my personal opinion. I've seen enough. It's been bad. It's been real bad. Will the team do that? I don't think the team does that. You got a super chat here. Andy Dubs, thank you so much for the super. Who do you have in mind to replace Banks? See, that's the $1 million question, right, Andy? The way I would see it, let's pretend that they do move on from Aaron Banks. All right, let me drop these down real quick. Get back to just having a conversation here. If you decide to move on from Aaron Banks, here's how I would approach that. You're going to move on from Aaron, and let's say you move on from Elton too, okay? So now the gears get to turning in the offseason, and it's okay. Who's your starters? You're losing Rasheed Walker, right, in free agency, or you can take the money that's freed up from Aaron Banks and Elton Jenkins and re-sign Rasheed Walker. I don't think that's a bad idea for the right price. What would that price be? That's the big question. The number I'm coming up with for Rasheed Walker, $10 million, $10 million average annual. I'd be okay with that. Will he take that? Probably not, because he'll hit free agency and they'll look at his pass blocking ability and someone will overpay him. And then we get a comp pick for that. So let's assume Rasheed Walker's gone. We move on from Aaron Banks and you move on from Elton Jenkins. Here's what I would do. I would re-sign Sean Ryan for the right price. I think you can get him for pretty cheap. Okay. Now you got a floor built for the backup center spot. I would keep Tom at right tackle would be my initial thought, my initial goal, right? The plan. And then I would move Jordan Morgan to left tackle. I would keep Zach Tom at right tackle. Sean Ryan, your starting center. Continue to press Anthony Belton into guard, but I would move Anthony Belton to left guard. Why? Anthony Belton has played the left side of the offensive line his entire career, to the best of my knowledge, at NC State and before that, same as Jordan Morgan. They are not right side offensive linemen. We've seen it over and over and over again. And that's what's frustrating about the offensive line coach to me in Butkus. And maybe it's Steno that's making the decision. Hell, maybe it's Matt that's making the decision. I don't know. But I would give them both a fair shake on the left side. And it could be Belton at left tackle and Morgan at left guard. I don't know. I feel like Belton's better built with his size and his brute strength, his ability to move guys off the ball to play guard. So I would go Jordan Morgan left tackle, Anthony Belton left guard, Sean Ryan center, okay, Darian Kennard at right guard, and then Zach Tom at right tackle. Now, if you bring Kennard back, and you can bring him back if you want to, we talked about him being a restricted free agent. If you go that route, I would not be opposed to moving Zach Tom to center, right, and still keeping Sean Ryan. He now plays right guard and putting Kennard at right tackle. I'd be okay with that too. But if I had to make a choice right now, my left to right would be, with no draft picks, with no free agent signings, okay, I would go Jordan Morgan left tackle, Anthony Belton left guard, Sean Ryan center, Darian Kennard right guard, Zach Tom right tackle. And now it's time to hit free agency and try to upgrade any of those positions, because your offensive line, once again, was your Achilles heel this year. I'd go that. The voice is going. We got to wrap up soon. I could talk ball with you all day, man. This is so much fun. And then you go into free agency and go, okay, this guard looks like a dominant guard. Now, you hope you don't miss like you did on Banksy, right? But let's say you go out and you find a guard. Bang, okay, we sign a guard. We feel like he's going to play left guard. He's going to be good. Or it could be left tackle. Then Anthony Belton goes back to right guard, competing with Kennard for right guard. That makes sense. Or maybe you find a starting center in free agency and you go, okay, this is the center of the future right here, or in the draft for time purposes here. And now you kick Sean Ryan to right guard and he's competing with Kennard at right guard, right? The reality is I think I'm going to try to, my goal would be to pick up 4 offensive linemen in the offseason. People go, what are you talking about? A couple draft picks, couple free agent signings. That's the weak spot of this team, guys. The defense is solid. The receiving core is solid. Quarterback play is good. Tight end is going to be dominant. I think Kraft's going to come back better than ever. Once again, we're going into an offseason going, damn it, this offensive line. And again, we used to be known for great offensive lines. What changed? I challenge everybody, go back and look at when this offensive line started to go down. And it's the second that we were forced to promote Adam Stenavich from offensive line coach to OC, and Coach Butkus took over as offensive line coach. That's no disrespect to Coach Butkus, but the facts are the facts. The offensive line has gotten significantly worse since he took over as offensive line coach. Now, you ask Matt. Matt says Steno is still in that room, so maybe Steno's the one to blame. We know he doesn't call plays, but he is I want to say he's the run game coordinator, if I remember correctly. But nonetheless, the offensive line has went backwards. And you guys know I don't call for guys to be fired. I try not to do that on this podcast, but that's just how I see it. I mean, Coach Lynn says Butkus has got to go. He also says Rich has got to go. I'm not opposed to Rich leaving. I just don't think he's as big of a problem as most people do. Again, I don't put it on Rich that Romeo dropped that the other night. That's just, and I think I'm in the minority with that opinion, and that's okay. I've been wrong on a lot of stuff over the years, right? It's a good comment right here. Oh man, I know I'm going to screw the name up. I'm just going to call you Obi. Thank you so much, Obi. The corners are weak, Clayton. It depends on what you look at. If you watch that game the other night, you go, the corners are weak. Yeah, because Keyshawn didn't play his assignment. That's why they're weak. So Keyshawn, yes, I agree. Totally. You don't want to go out and overpay for cornerback play, man. You just don't want to do it. When you do that, I'm telling you, bad things happen. We did it with Jair. We paid Jair. We gave Jair the freaking checkbook. How did that work out? And again, I know players have injuries and they're up and down and this and that. When you look at how the pass defense is played, look at our defense overall. See, y'all are going to make me go way over here. All right, let's hit it real quick. Passing defense, okay? Yards per pass attempt allowed across the league. Green Bay ranks 6th in the league at 6.0 yards per pass attempt allowed. Now, if you're saying the difference between us being dominant on defense as opposed to just being a top 5 or a top 3 defense is because we need better cornerback play, I'm not buying into that. I'm not willing to overpay for a cornerback to give us up in the top 3 spot in terms of yards per pass attempt. Again, the game plan worked perfect. We held Chicago to 6 points until 5 minutes were left in the game, and then we have one cornerback below 2 coverages. Keyshawn needs to be replaced this year. Okay, period, case closed. I'm with you if that's your comment there. But to say the corners are weak, I disagree with that. I don't look at our defense and go, these damn cornerbacks, man, they're costing us games. I just don't. There's other factors that came into play there. Keyshawn did that game, absolutely. But again, it has nothing to do with scheme. It has everything to do with, I think it has to do with ego, man. That's just me. So, yeah. All right. Andy Does with the super chat. Thank you, buddy. Any free agent / draft prospects? Probably way too early, but this show has great offseason content coverage. We're going to dive into that. Right offhand, I don't know any of the free agents yet. As soon as the season's over, we shift gears real quick into that and building our draft board, and you'll have access to all that over in our Patreon group, patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. But yeah, when we get to that point, we'll dive into it. Nothing comes to mind right now, Andy, because so many things can change, right? Like players can get cut at the last second. I mean, I could pull up a futures free agent list. I don't even know. Let me go to Spot Track real quick and see if they've got a free agent list yet. Give me just 1 second. 2026 free agents. So these are the guys set to be free agents, okay? If we go to center, let me click there. Let me sign in real quick, get rid of these ads. I guess we're going to hour 20 today, and I may be divorced by the end of the afternoon here. So let me close that out. This is what we're showing in terms of centers going into this offseason. We'll do this real quick here, and then we'll get out, guys. All right, so this is according to Spot Track. Hopefully, y'all can see that okay. These are the top centers. Now, notice they do it by previous average annual value. Okay, so if we were to sort by market value, to me, that's probably the better centers. Now, I don't think Baltimore lets Linderbaum go. If you guys seen him play this year, he is a dominant center. So the reason I don't like to get into this right now, Andy, until free agency opens, is because we're showing several players that are like, yeah, those would be significant upgrades, probably, right? The problem is they're not going to be available. Okay. That's why we don't like to dive into it. But to answer your question, if I could pick of any of the free agents, I would throw the damn checkbook at Tyler Linderbaum. He is awesome. He's a dominant player. Connor McGovern, I don't know much about. According to the comps, he's one of the top. Cade Mays out of Carolina. And these guys are fairly young, right? Like Tyler Linderbaum ain't even 26 years old yet. Cade Mays from Carolina is 26 years old, going to be turning 27 this coming year. It looks like we got Ethan Pocic, if I'm saying that right, at 11.3 million. Then you can see it drops off pretty significantly, right? So Sean Ryan down here, he doesn't have a market value. That's a good sign, by the way. That's a real good sign that if they're not showing a market value for him, then we might be able to get him back for 2 or 3 million per, right? And again, we look at, and the other thing too here, Andy, without doing extensive research into it on the fly, is these guys at the bottom might be just as good as Sean Ryan, and we don't know it, right? Because they're not showing a market value. Now, if you were to go to previous average annual value, which is, what they've made up to this point, typically you could find, all right, which one are the best players, because these numbers, they're in like the top 5 or top 10 in both of these numbers. It looks like Connor McGovern is one of those that's been deemed as a high quality center in the past, right? So those are the top names. Again, if you go market value, which is based off of comps, which is typically a good indicator of how good these players have been so far, your top 5 available as it sits right now that are set to be unrestricted free agents would be Tyler Linderbaum of the Baltimore Ravens, Connor McGovern of Buffalo, Cade Mays of Carolina, Ethan Pocic of Cleveland, and then Ted Karras of Cincinnati, although I would not include Ted Karras in that. I would go with those top 4 right there that we mentioned. So hopefully that answered your question, buddy. Yeah, so it's going to be interesting, man, and it's what I love about the offseason. We don't want it to get here too soon. We want to hoist that Lombardi and then get into it, right? But that's if you're new here, if this is the first time anybody's tuning in to PTA, this is what we do. Like, we'll take you up through the Super Bowl. Now, as soon as the Packers season is over, if they don't go on a Super Bowl run, which we all hope they do, if they don't, the second their season's over, we shift gears into this stuff immediately. We'll start building our draft board. We'll get you all that information out, and then start talking about free agency and kind of get you set for that. And it kind of teeters back and forth. We'll go from draft coverage to free agency, draft coverage to free agency, then free agency hits, bang, who do we sign? Let's go do a film breakdown, all that good stuff. And then you shift gears right into the draft and get you coverage of that. Yeah, so if that's the type of content you're looking for, make sure you hit like, subscribe, click the bell icon so you know when we go live here in the future. So, all right. So there's that. Hopefully that answered your question, Andy. We have been all over the joint. I had 3 videos set to edit out, and I think we got through 2. And it's going to be a circus trying to figure out what to edit out. So, but it's been fun talking ball with you guys for sure. We were going to go hour 20. We're just going to knock it off right there, guys, because, well, I was originally going to go 40 minutes, and we're at the hour 3-minute mark. So we'll just wrap it up there. I appreciate everybody tuning in, hanging out with us. Again, yeah, absolutely, Andy. We agree, man. Very fun covering it. Make the offseason less dull. I mean, our viewership goes up in the offseason. Our subs go up in the offseason because most people, as soon as the season's over, that do podcasts, they just kind of drift back and then, okay, there's not much to talk about. And we like press in. So what I love about that is the overall numbers may go down, but our subs go up because we find the diehard fans, right? The guys and gals that just can't get enough of the NFL football and Packer football. That's what we're wanting on this channel. Everybody's welcome, but you'll notice you don't get many people in our chat. No, don't apologize, Andy. You're good, dude. He said, I'm sorry. No, you're good. It's a fun conversation. Thank you for the Superman. We don't get a whole lot of people in the chat that make casual ass comments and start arguments. We want to draw to our channel the people who want to truly understand football. Not that we have the answers, but we're going to get the answers together, right? We're going to do all the research and dive into the tape and everything, right? That's what we want to do here. So that's why the offseason we pick up those diehard fans, because everybody else just kind of, not everybody, but most people just kind of drift off into the background. They stop covering the Packers for a little bit until some kind of news breaks, and then they're back in doing shows, right? So, yeah. Obi in the chat. Thanks, Clay. Best channel for Packers content. We appreciate that, Obi. We appreciate that, man. We try hard. I don't feel like it's the best channel, but we try to get you as much information as possible and create an environment. Really, we're creating a community. That's what we're trying to do, man. We want a community where people from all different stages of fandom can come in here, be respectful of each other, and just talk about our favorite team. So that's it, guys. I'm out of here. I'm going to go get packed, hit the road, go see some family. We'll be back tomorrow. I should get back into town late tonight, maybe, if we come back tonight, which means tomorrow morning I'll try to hit it heavy again tomorrow. Yeah, I know it's Christmas Eve. That's all right, though. We're going to be around. I'll come up here and get you a show or two and keep the content going. So really appreciate everybody hanging out. I want to thank the Super Chats. Andy Dubs, thank you so much, buddy, for those generous donos. Also, the best way to support what we do here at PTA is to join our Patreon group, patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. $3 get you access to everything. It's really, really good for draft coverage. It kind of becomes our draft hub. We'll give you all of our prospect reports. Got good feedback yesterday when we talked about Colin Oliver being activated. People were messaging me about the draft profile we put together. That's in our Patreon group. So it's just a good way to stay connected with the chats. And then I'll, from time to time, put content in there and just throw up, hey, here's a quick breakdown of this. We'll do that for free agency for sure and the draft as well. So make sure you guys check that out. But I'm gone. Appreciate everybody hanging out with us. We'll see y'all tomorrow. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world. Listen, man, Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy Hanukkah, whatever religion, whatever holiday you celebrate. I'm a Christian. I always lead with Christmas. It doesn't make me better than anybody, or, I'm not trying to down anybody else's stance on anything, but just know everybody's welcome. But whatever you celebrate, even if you don't celebrate anything at all, hopefully you guys spend an awesome time with the family. Everybody's healthy, and hope Santa Claus is good to you this year. But we appreciate everybody tuning in this year for sure, man. It's been a fun run up through the Christmas season. So we'll see you guys tomorrow. My name's Clayton. This is PTA. Go Pack, go.
There we go. We're out.
Bye, guys.